Good day and a warm welcome to our viewers joining us on Facebook Live and on Zoom. We're so glad that you could be part of our SESH today, titled Traditional Theater in Southeast Asia, the Singapore and Thailand Experiences. Also with us today are two guest speakers who will be sharing their experiences on traditional theater from their respective countries. But before I hand over the floor to the moderator who will properly introduce our distinguished guest speakers, a quick reminder to all our viewers to leave us a comment letting us know where you are joining us from, and to be sure to send in questions for our speakers, which could see you winning a SPAFA souvenir from us. We will be choosing winners from each platform based on your questions and comments, so be sure to participate and let us hear from you. For those on Facebook, send in your thoughts in the comment box under the live feed. And for our attendees on Zoom, please leave comments in the chat box, whereas questions are to be sent to the Q&A tab. And now, moderating today's SPAFA SESH is SEAMEO SPAFA Assistant Documentation Officer, Mr. Kanal, Khiev.
Thank you very much, John. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to SPAFA SESH. I am Kanal, Assistant Documentation Officer at SEAMEO SPAFA, and I will be the moderator of this SESH. When we talk about traditional theater in Southeast Asia, so there are many forms of traditional theater, and some forms of traditional theater are well preserved and promoted, but some of the traditional theater have been disappeared or has been forgotten. So at the same time, in the 20th century, where technology is booming and also the influence from the other country, cultures, art, and so on, so just participation in promoting traditional theater or preserving traditional theater is a concern. And so it's come to the questions whether what measure has been taken to revitalize those traditional theater and how we include use in to promote and preserve the traditional theaters. And today we will dive into understanding of the traditional theater in Singapore and Thailand. And with us, we have two speakers, Dr. Chua from Singapore and Dr. Kusuma Venzky-Stalling from Thailand. And both of our speakers today have more than 30 years experience in performing arts, including research, teaching, directing, and performance. So we are very honored to have both of them today to talk with to share with us on traditional theater in Southeast Asia, the Singapore and Thailand experience. So our first speaker is Dr. Chua from Singapore, and Dr. Chua obtained his PhD from Queen's University in Belfast, UK in 1979. He is one of the three co-founders of the Asian Puppetry Association and a vice president since its inception in 2006. He is a co-founder of Asia Dance Association and the Asia Pacific Dance Alliance and the Commonwealth Theatre Labs. He was the president of the World Dance Alliance, the founding director of Nanyang Academy of Fine Arts School of Performing Arts, and the first senior specialist in performing art at SPAFA. He taught at the Nanyang Technological University, the National Institute of Education, Seoul National University, Osaka University, and the National University of Singapore. Since 2011, Dr. Chua has been invited by the Ministry of Culture of China to produce new works for Chinese traditional theater companies in many provinces and has been directing almost dozens of original products that tour all over the world. He actively contributes to international exchange program and promote understanding between cultures. His dance review and academic research paper on performing art of Asia has been published extensively in regional and international journals. Apart from engaging in research in theater and dance in Asia, Dr. Chua has written, directed, and acted in many plays performed in over 30 countries. Today, Dr. Chua will share with us the revitalization of traditional theater in Singapore. Over the floor to you, Dr. Chua.
Thank you.
Please.
All right. Today I want to really talk about three examples, a few examples, depends on the time. Well, probably two examples. My topic is revitalization of traditional theater in Singapore. Traditional theater in Singapore is experiencing a revival with a creative confidence that is nurturing new generation of performers and audiences. We are very happy to see this situation despite of the COVID-19 pandemic. Although until early this year, we are not was very bad. So from the beginning of this year, the government had opening up the theaters again, and we started to present public performances. But many of the theater groups actually receiving government grants to produce their performances online. And therefore, in the last 2 years, there were also a lot of online documentary of performances. Now, I want to give a few examples today. It'll be you'll take too much time to talk about all these groups, but I will highlight the Nan Hua Opera and the Angry Tamaset Bangsawen. These are the two examples I will talk about. Oh dear, it did. Oh, so first example, the Chinese Theater Circle. It was formed in 1981, and it has again the Institute of a Public Charter status. It means that if you donate money to them, you can deduct, the tax according to the amount you donated. So it encouraged a lot of people to donate money to the CTC. And the Singapore National Arts Council initiated the establishment of the Chinese Opera Institute, also have the IPC status. I'm the founding director from 1995 after I left SPAFA and come back to head the Chinese Opera Institute until 2010. Then after that, I started to teach and to direct and to produce, Chinese opera and dance for theaters company in Vietnam, China, and Cambodia. The CTC has art education program, and the Chinese Opera Institute also bring our children internationally. So these are one of the examples where they perform in Germany and met the African children group. And the next, I can spend more time to talk about the Nan Hua Opera because it is now the driving force in promoting new, Teochew opera, the Chinese opera, one of the genres of Chinese opera. So what is Nan Hua mission? The mission is to preserve, develop, and promote traditional Teochew opera as an important heritage of Singapore by performing, presenting, producing Teochew opera, old and new works, and enhancing the quality of performance and the production standard of Teochew opera performance in Singapore, because it conduct courses for anybody in Singapore who wanted to learn. So we even have foreigners who come to experience and learn Teochew opera. And we also promote opera to local and international audiences. Before COVID-19, we performed in Germany. I'm the artistic advisor of the Nanghua Opera. So we perform in Germany, China, Cambodia, Korea, and Indonesia. And also we produce a new opera for these international audiences. Now, the vision is to be the most recognized Teochew opera group in local and international scenes. You can see on the right-hand side, these are the children group. the boy who's standing in front with the spear is only 7 years old, but he's really a very good performer. And our value is to embrace people of all ages, because we must also take care of the senior citizens who are interested, in learning traditional theater. Many of these senior citizens, above 60 years old, when they were young, they have to look after the family and they didn't have time to learn. But I must say that after a few years of training, they become very, very good performer. We also wanted to, promote the culture that goes with traditional theater, and also groom the new generation of performer. Nanghua Opera was actually formed in 1964, but only become a professional company with more than 20 full-time staff after 2015, when Mr. Toh Ling Mong became the president. He had transformed the company, to a professional company with staff doing research. It also have the IPC status, as I explained just now, so it can issue receipts for the donation for the donor. So it encouraged people, to donate. So with the good work of Nanhua, they have received the Stewards of Intangible Cultural Heritage Award of from the National Heritage Board in 2020 for promoting and protecting tradition and developing professionalism and focusing on the cultural transmission to the next generations. I think that is very important. That is the photo of the award ceremony from the Minister of Culture, Youth and Sports of Singapore. Now, it actually have two arms. One is the performing art group itself. The other are the performing groups of the company. And the other, on the right-hand side, is the research center of the company. Because training and performance and research must come together. So, in order to promote to the masses, Nanhua, you can see from the picture, we have children classes, we have organized showcases, for the children to perform. They perform at community centers, open air space, at shopping centers, so that a wide range of experience for them to acquire performing skill. And reaching up to the masses, you can see that there are many audience there to see these performances. And we also, as I mentioned before, perform these pieces like the one in Korea with the Korean subtitles. Perform the right-hand side is the one we perform in China and Indonesia. And also we interacted with the Macau's audience and opera groups online. Now, you can see that we also have an annual gala performed in the theater, meaning that we produce a show that are performed by the best performers of the groups, and this is one of the example. And they also perform at the food fair when they organize food fair, like the Teochew food fair. Then they perform this to many people who came to the food fair. Courses ranging from the language course, the basic performing skills course, makeup course, and so on. A great variety of courses, including music courses. And these are our children classes, because I think bringing it to schools and bringing the children to Nanhua studios to learn will ensure that we'll be able to produce a new generation of performers. And we do not expect all of them to become professional actors. Like the Chinese Opera Institute that I founded, we go to 80 schools a year. We conduct courses for primary and secondary school and university students. They have experienced the traditional theater, the opera, but they have not become professional actors. That is not important, but they become supporter of traditional theater. They will come to see the performances. They'll send their children now to Nanghua and other organization. So it is important to connect them and to help them to have some knowledge of traditional theater. And they will come back. Some of them will come back when they are 30 years old, when they have a good career, and they wanted to come back to perform with us again. There are also cases like that. So there are also tours for Nanghua. We invite members of publics to come to visit our research center to see what we are doing. I think this is the way to connect to the society so that more people, including tourists, will know what we are doing with traditional theater. We also have a music ensemble. Look, this is the ensemble that perform at the Esplanade Open Air Theater. You can see that they are very young musicians. I think, again, training young musicians is important, but bringing the concerts to the open air space, like the Esplanade Open Air Theater, is important too. These are the video online. If you are interested to listen to them, you can click on this link. So the musicians are also learning different kind of instrument. We also work with some new ideas. Like, for example, we work with the Philharmonic Orchestra. Of course, as you can see from the picture before, the traditional musical instrument is very different from the Philharmonic Western instrument. But we thought that experiencing this will bring in audience for Western music to come to listen to us. So we presented a show called Women of Teochew Music. We also Nanhua also commissioned a composer to test the possibility. So we have children music camp. You can see the gong is so big, and so we have also trained the children in the music camp. The good thing about the research center is that I think it's very important for us when we practicing traditional theater. We need to know what happened, what was the history and important aspect or elements of traditional theater, whether it's new Teochew opera or other opera genres, or Kong or Like, or say Wayang Wong in Indonesia, or Sarsuela in Philippines. Research is a very important component to bring our traditional theater forward. So our research center had collected a lot of archival materials, and how to get them, because we get donation. So many people donate, their books, their DVD, and their photograph, poster to Nanghua Opera, and so therefore we are able to organize conferences, together with the Singapore Chinese Heritage Center. I think partnership is very important with NUS, the University of Singapore. I think we cannot do it alone, so we have to find partners, to work together to organize these academic activities. So look at the donation we have. You see, all program, poster and books, gramophone, and so on. So we go to school. These are the school photograph. Many school we go to. We go to the primary school. Look, these are the students performing, and we produce books for children. I think, to connect the children, I think also have to give them some background, the history, and the fun of learning Chinese opera. So Nan Hua had been producing children books. These are some of the examples of the children book. That was a book launch, and we also design and produce games for children. These games are related to Chinese opera's elements, yeah, and the camp, then they can play the games during the camp. So it's really a lot of fun for them. We have very important mentoring programs. That is the master and the senior teachers who conduct courses, not just for the children, but also for the parents. So there's the bonding time for parents. So many parents are supporting. Okay, you can see the picture on the left, bring their children and come to learn with their children and playing game with their children. Now, I'm going to move on because of the time constraint to the next example. Is a traditional theater form called Bangsawen. This is the picture of Bangsawen. You can see that, beautiful traditional costume and story from the classics. This is a form that has been practicing in Singapore and Malaysia and Indonesia and southern Thailand for a few hundred years. And Bangsawen first developed in Penang, Malaysia, because a visiting group from India brought the form, and the audience liked it, and slowly, the local artists started to learn Bangsawen theater. The language of performance is Malay, yeah. So it became a very popular form in the 1920s and 30s. But after the war, it has been declined. I want to talk about this gentleman. Actually, SPAFA, his name is called Haji Hamid Ahmad. He came to the SPAFA conference that we organized. I think you can see the book that is called Traditional Theater in Southeast Asia, which I edited. The conference was funded by the Japan Foundation and held in Bangkok. And I invited Mr. Haji Hamid Hamad to come to attend the conference. He was very, very inspired because he see the traditional theater form, in Thailand, in other part of Southeast Asia. Scholars presented their papers about traditional theater in Southeast Asia. And he was very inspired because Bangsawen at that point of time is already dying in Singapore. There are very few performances, and group had dissolved. So he gets very worried and very sad. But after attending the SPAFA, conference in 1991, he went back, to form and activate, the group that he had formed a few years earlier called Angrik Tamasya Bangsawan. It was called Angrik Bangsawan. It was a student who in the recent year revived the group and called it Angrik Tamasya Bangsawan. So the inactive group after the SPAFA conference was revitalized again. Okay. And what is Bangsawan? Bangsawan, was very popular because it is very entertaining. A lot of songs and dance and comedy like Like, or like, the Sasuela, or like the Ketupat in Indonesia. So it's very accessible. So before the days of cinema, Bangsawan had large audience. Singapore in the 30s have 3 Bangsawan theater in the North Bridge Road Street. Imagine 3 theaters and they can survive. They are competing and yet, they together, they bring in a lot of Malay audience as well as non-Malay audience. It has what elements? It has music, dance, improvisation, which is very much like Like, songs and stylized speech. They cannot speak like everyday's conversation. They have to stylize the dialogue called Lengok. Or this is similar to the Japanese kabuki or Chinese opera. For example, in kabuki, I give you an example. An actor might say like this: Salaba ipuku tabeyo ka. You see, this is not everyday language, right? Like why Chinese opera and all that has the same thing. So the group mission is to uphold the arts and practice of traditional Bangsawan and to practice Bangsawan with self, heavenly, and community in mind. So it means that many of the members now actually also bring their children to learn, and to perform together. So like Teochew opera I mentioned just now, to learn the skills of performance is not enough. You have to know the language and culture. That's why we need the research center to do that and to produce work, to document and to popularize the art form. So Bangsawan groups now then bring the Bangsawan to school. This is the Bangsawan in school. They conducted workshop as well as performing Bangsawan in school. Look at the young faces. They have successful, recruiting young people to join the group. And their hope is to harnessing the use of Bangsawan language, because you need to learn the language, your mother tongue, not just, English, but also the Bangsawan etiquettes, which is called adapt in Malay, and develop the strong vocal tone and also the unique rhythmic delivery patterns called Lengok, and also the movement called Gerard, which is stylized, like the Chinese opera movement. We have a certain gesture that have to be stylized. It's the same with Kathakali or Kabuki. Now, the 4 most important element is acting, in Malay called lakona, and traditional singing, Malay dance performances, and martial arts, comedy, dance, the delivery dialogue in the stylized way. This is a Bangsawan that performed by the Angrik Tamasya Bangsawan recently. Now, I want you to play the video later of this Bangsawan. Look at Look at this, it's very grand, the palace scenes. Now, what does the group hope to do? They hope that, they can perform for the community, for the school, as well as for the main stage production at the festival of Bangsawen, which means that they perform in school, in the school hall. The lighting is not so great, but it can reach out to the students, right? But performing the main street will make a better performance that can be competed with other forms of entertainment. It also set up a Bangsawen Academy that is to train children, like the Nan Hua Opera before. They also have a children program. Actually, from tomorrow, for the next few days, they are doing exactly this. And also, to write new script, to learn history, and therefore they are similar to the Nanghua Opera's strategy. Now look at these children by the Chinese Opera Institute. We brought these children to Japan in 2008, I think. We also brought them to Moscow, and also another group of children to Germany, the one that performed with the African children in the slide I showed early on. So these are my preliminary thoughts about reviving traditional theater. Although we have a bigger audience and new audience now than say 10 years ago, we also see that many at least there are also new group that's formed, like the Huazhu Xi Gongzuofang is formed by Mr. Lim Cho-Kiang just this year. So, it's very good to see that new groups with enthusiastic members are formed in the recent years. So I think nurturing artists, whether professional group or amateur groups, is one of the most important things. If you don't have performance, it will die, it will disappear. And also, equally important, I think theater researchers, I think Ajahn Kusuma is doing probably this, in Chiang Mai University, like, and also foster collaborative efforts is important. I think SPAFA can play a very important role in bringing practitioners and researchers together. I think such interactions is very important because it always inspires people, inspire participants who wanted to go back and do more. And the final point, cultural diplomacy, because traditional theater is also our identity, our tradition, our heritage, and therefore it is good to bring our traditional theater to international stage, so that foreign audiences can know more about us, about our culture, about our identity by watching these performances. Because I think in today's interconnected world, cultural diplomacy is a very important part of international relations, as both the government and NGO actors can engage with global publics to share ideas and experiences and influencing view and inspire action for a better world. Now, let us look at this example. This is what you can see: Singapore Chinese Dance Theatre and the Vietnam National Tuang Theatre. Now, the National Tuang Theatre, of course, is practicing Tuang, Tuong, one of the three traditional theater forms in Vietnam. So we work with them to produce a show, a cross-cultural show called the Bukit Merah, Tale of Bukit Merah. not just performed in Vietnam, also performed in Singapore and Indonesia. So this is actually a Singapore folk tales. Then when we work with the Vietnamese group, become a cross-cultural production, it become a multicultural show with artists, Malay, Indian, Chinese artists from Singapore and Vietnamese artists. And when we perform in Indonesia, in Sulawesi, the audience were very positive and saying that maybe more ASEAN groups and ASEAN artists should work together like this so that our shared heritage can be seen by the ASEAN people. So that's a more or less I wanted to say, then I will leave some time to play the video. So I will stop sharing now, Jerry, and play the video.
Okay,
and
thank you.
we're not able to have enough time to play the whole video, just some part of it. You skip and play. This is the story. Okay, we can play now. A story about how there were the conflicts in the palace, so people were fighting, and eventually a concubine that the king's love was accused of having an affair, so she was executed. It's a tragedy. Kanal, let's play now.
Yes.
Nampaknya hingga di saat ini pihak kerajaan Majapahit berdiam diri, senyap sunyi. Tiada kedengaran lagi berita ancaman barang apa jua pun. Ampun, Tuan.
Move on.
Tidak seindah bunga-bunga harum berseri di
Alright, move
taman
on to the next scene. Move further. Okay. Now, we also, this director Nadi Putra is very clever. The show is interacting with the video pre-recorded, so it's like watching a movie, and the audience just love it. Now the extra turn, the other component.
Anak Cina pergi berakit,
the comedy.
rakit dibuat buluh yang muda. Hamba datang nak cerita
We can
sedikit.
move on. Just know that this is okay. We have the next scene. All the ladies in waiting in the palace.
Terima kasih, Dayang. Wahai dangdang sekalian. Tuanku. Burung nuri di dalam istana. Persembahan Datuk si orang kaya.
All right, move on.
Wahai
If we can
putri.
find the dancing further down.
Hidup di dunia. Sesungguhnya,
Okay,
Adinda
just
sendiri tidak
a few
tahu
seconds
tajak
on
dan
this.
keris siapakah itu. Mustahil Tuan hamba tidak tahu. Sedangkan kain selendang menjadi bungkusannya.
So she was accusing her, yeah? Okay, move on. See whether we can find the dance. Move on.
Jika nyata dosa kesalahannya,
Further down.
dipenjarakan.
Okay, move on. All right, that's the end. Anyway, we did not see the dance, but never mind. All right. Jerry, that is the end of my presentation, and thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chua. That's very informative, and I can see a lot of effort for revival those traditional theater in Singapore. And up next, we have Dr. Kusuma, who will talk about the rekindling traditional performing arts through the eye of the youth. Yeah, so before that, I would like to give the a brief biography of Dr. Kusuma. So a drama graduated from Thammasat University. Dr. Kusuma went to the UK for further her study in Master and PhD in Dramatic Literature at the School of Oriental and African Study, University of London. On her return to Thailand, Dr. Kusuma took a post as a lecturer in theatre at Thammasat University, Faculty of Applied Art for many years before joining SEAMEO as a senior specialist in performing art. She left the post to follow her husband's international career in the UK and Hong Kong before finally settling down in Chiang Mai. Since 2015, Dr. Kusuma has been teaching theatre and other performing art-related subjects, both theoretical and practical aspects at the Faculty of Fine Arts Performing Art Program, Chiang Mai University. Her recent research subjects include applying theatre to support elderly people in aging society in Thailand and how to use theatre to bridge the city ritual community in the northern Thailand. So today, Dr. Kusuma will share with us the rekindling traditional.
My topic will look from the bottom up. I actually want to show that how the traditional performing arts are revitalized through the young generation. So the title is Rekindling the Traditional Performing Arts Through the Eyes of the Youth. So basically, this is a fact. We live in a rapid world. The world is changing every day. And so we have new generation coming up. We experience the, the new culture from Gen Z and Alpha, and also the influx of technology. Like, during the COVID, we have to endure with the online teaching and, all the technology stuff. And also the changing lifestyle of the new generation. We are experiencing the, the influence of the Korean wave. I'm sure that it has spread around the world right now. We see the K-pop, we see a lot of Korean series, and, all kind of Korean lifestyle that, expand around the world. And therefore, the interest of the new generation has changed. Nowadays, some major topics that are among the, the forefront of the new generation is about LGBTQ. As you can see in the left picture, this is one of my students' performance a few years ago. That was talking about the plight of the people who experience all sort of discrimination as a result of their gender differentiation. The second one on the top right is the political performance, which just happened in Chiang Mai, I think last week. The new generation in Thailand right now, they're very active in political movement, as we can also witness around the Southeast Asia, like, for example, in Hong Kong and also in other countries. So the same as in Thailand, we saw many protests on the street, and also some music that was inspired by the political situation right now. Therefore, the new generation try to find their voice through the performance. The last one, that also one of the topic of interest at the bottom right, of course, inspired by the Korean lifestyle. So it's about high school love performance. So these are some of the examples that the new generation are very interested in putting in their performing arts. And why? We need to search for new language. Now the language of the old generation has changed to the language of the young. So we need to look for the new language that speak for them, for the new audience. And when we talk about tradition, it's kind of, you know, huge and big thing for the teenagers. But for me, I think, how do we communicate with them with tradition? Tradition must be meaningful. So I shall give you a few examples of my students. They are all recent creation that was already staged. The first one, this is called Kwan. So Kwan basically is the ritual-based performance, combining the story about the Kwan ritual and the contemporary dance, also some of the Lana dance, and the use of the mask, and also combined with other theatrical elements to make the performance more exciting and attractive to the new audience. The story is very basic about, you know, the understanding about we are all have 32 Kwan when we were born. Kwan is like a spirit that inside us. But while we grow up, the Kwan might escape. So how to bring the Kwan back is to undergo some particular ritual called Piti Su Kwan. It's the kind of offering, and also to get the senior to use the white thread to wrap around the wrist. So this student come up with this narrative and presenting with, you know, some basic movement using some Lana traditional movement, and also telling the story through the lighting and also some symbol. You can see that he used the small lamp hanging that represent the 32 Kwan. And during the journey, during the performance, when the main character undergo the changing of the life, the lighting of the Kwan has been dim. So the Kwan can be in the disappearing period if we are not taking good care of the Kwan. So to get the light of the Kwan back, you really have to respect and, you know, understand the ritual. And at the end, the Kwan come back to the body. I also prepare some short video about this performance we will see at the end of my talk. Okay, the next one is called Hope. This is the work that was produced during the pandemic last year. Hope really is about the inequality of people from different backgrounds who are affected by the COVID situation. Because this group of students who produced this show, they feel that, you know, during the COVID pandemic in Thailand, a lot of people suffer a lot of bad treatment. We also witnessed some, you know, poor people who couldn't get a proper hospitalization, and the shortness of mask or shortage of medicine and things like that. While the rich got, you know, like a privilege in, you know, all kind of help. So this student, they want to voice this concern through the performance. So this performance go back to the traditional Thai dancing step, but simplify the step to tell more about the story that they want to say. Plus some combination of the new media, that they have some, picture projection, and they compose new music to accompany the dancing step, to become more interesting piece of work. I also prepare some example as well for Hope performance. The last example is called Dance Jeung Last. This is the work that based on Lana martial arts. My student, the boy in the middle who's drinking, he's a dancer, and he's also the director of this piece. He also practiced the Jeung martial arts, and he thinks that, to get the Jeung to become more attractive to the younger audience, he must find a new way to communicate. So he come up with this story that, okay, if Jeung is the art for the battle or for the protection, then he must tell the story about some kind of danger. So this performance telling the story about, the nowadays that, women have to face daily danger, and during the way that she passed through some drunkard, she had a fight, and through the fight, she can perform the battle of the Jeung dance. So this is some example during the fighting scene that student apply the Jeung to show the art of the martial arts. The examples that I show you reflect the new generation connection to the traditional form, yet also they try to search for the new language that they can talk about their concern by adopting some element of the traditional form to be able to talk about everyday or the present issues. I have put together some observations about the new adaptation. I think traditional theater can still be a source of great inspiration for the new generation. We don't lose hope, and we still have high hope. If the traditional theater, the first one, can address the contemporary issue that are relevant to the audience interests. For example, like topic about gender, sexuality, democracy, economic disparity, and so on. The second one, traditional theater should combine different dramatic elements. This is a key to attract young audiences. And the third one, if the traditional theaters are too long, too lengthy, it could get some boredom to the audience. So why not try to shorter the length? Maybe instead of 3 to 4 hours, shorter to 1 or 2 hours, so that we can engage the new audience to follow the whole performance. And to do just that, you need to rewritten the text. You need to tell the new story in the new narrative form. The fourth one, some dances which has no plot, maybe you try the way to add some simple storylines, so that some people who are unfamiliar with the arts can understand and can follow the story. And the last one that I recommend, the traditional theater may reinterpret the script of classical literature or historical stories or even legends to present the new perspective You can look at Ramayana from the eyes of Sita or other characters. Or you can go back to many historical stories, but you reinterpret the story to have, to give the audience some other new perspective and fresh idea. And therefore, these are all of my recommendation that the traditional theater can still be an inspiration to attract the new generation. So now I can show you some examples of my students' work, and I had edited to few minutes of each. The first one is Kwan. Can you hear the sound?
Yes, yes.
Yes, but can you make it full screen, please?
The white thing, the black thing represent the evil that comes to destroy the Kwan, but eventually the Kwan succeed, come back to the human body again. Okay, my apology for the bad quality because we didn't have a proper budget for the professional video. Okay, the next one is Hope.
เจ้าหน้าที่นำศพแม่ตั้งครรภ์พบคลัสเตอร์ใหม่จากเหตุการณ์แพร่ฆ่าผู้ป่วยที่ล้นโรงพยาบาลค่อนข้างจะเยอะเลยครับกับปีที่ไม่ได้ทำประเด็นใหญ่เลยนะคะ
เ แม้ที่หวังยังคงเลือนลางเพียงทางจากคือลมหายใจค่อยๆหายไปทุกที
Okay, and the last one is dance journalists. Okay. The three video are some of the example of my students' work. They all done by them. All the music and other dramatic element were designed by the students themselves. My last note before I close this presentation is I just want to address that traditions are still important for the new generation. I agree with Dr. Chua that research is very important as well. It's a vital part to revitalize traditional art form to be relevant to the new audience. I shall say this, that I quote from my friends of a friend, a philosopher, and he said this: tradition is a continuation of the now. And I do believe so. If you don't see that tradition is important for your present time, then that is no longer have any value. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kusuma. So I really enjoy your presentation, and I can see the more creative way of presenting the traditional form or integrate the traditional form into the contemporary ones. So for that, we can open the discussion. So earlier, Dr. Kusuma, you said you have a question for Dr. Chu, right?
That's right. I really, this is my most jealous about Singapore, that you really put a lot of energy and resource for children. I think it is very, very important that young children need to be connected with, heritage. And I really love you guys have, produced the book about opera, and you even, go to so many schools to train the, small children. I know that the art is very, very hard to train, to practice, but yet the goal is not, to produce the performer, as you said, and just to, how can I say, just to put some seed in the spirit of the young. And you never know that in the next, 20 years, 30 years, that person that used to be the little person has become a full adult, can come back and bring back this traditional art form alive. And I think Thailand still lag behind this. And I don't know, maybe Dr. Chua, my question is really how, or the feedback, let me ask about the feedback from the young children, that you bring this program into the school or even train them. Can you tell us a little bit more?
That the boy in the picture that I show with the spear, if you remember, is a very, very accomplished performer. But some children just have the talent to quickly able to learn to sing and to dance. Yeah. So he's very special because of, for example, the first time he came to the class, everybody see he's so lovely, go and hug him, that, and then he cried, and so he was rather frightened by this extreme friendliness. So we thought that oh dear, he will not come back. But then the next Sunday, he tell his mom that that I want to go back. He said, why you want to go back? He said it's such fun, so he enjoyed the second lesson. And we experienced that actually, many children really enjoy and they wanted to come to classes. But when you go, from my experience, we have trained many children at the Chinese Opera Institute also when I was the director. You see, when they go to the secondary school, then go to university, they won't have the time to come back. But to me, it doesn't matter because he had experienced it. And he had the memory, of such fun, and especially the public performances give them the self-confidence and the courage, to overcome difficulties. Because in the process of performing, that from rehearsal to the backstage to the real performance, there are many problems they have to solve, right? So to me, it's really helping them to learn to solve problems. Yeah. So for example, one of the boys that I taught when he was 15 years old, and then I didn't see him after he graduated from after he finished his schools. And then 15 years later, he comes back, and he wants to learn to be a drummer. And he's now the lead drummer of the Nan Hua Opera Ensemble, So there are many examples like that, some of them become parents, then they find that it's good for them for their children to acquire this knowledge and experience. So they send their children to us, But this is only one aspect of it, not just teaching the children the traditional theater skills or knowledge. I think more important is by learning this thing, they learn the culture, they learn the value, the core value of the cultures. But you see, one thing I also very concerned is that we do not want them to just memorize everything that we taught them. They must also, from this knowledge and skill they have learned, they can apply it to other things. So I always tell my students that just think of these sets of skills and the process of learning it, how you can apply to other things. I'm also thinking of creating or helping the student to create new pieces, experimenting with the tradition. We had that in the workshop many years ago, but now I want them to experimenting a piece that not using the traditional script, and yet come up with something that can connect to the tradition. That's what you were doing. The other thing is that of the points you raised, actually, we are also doing at least 3 of the things that you talk about. First, the reinterpretation of classic. We are doing Mahabharata next year. But it will be a new perspective. How did it connected to the problem we are thinking of today, and again about relationships and about conflicts, about war and peace. So we are also doing short. Actually, all my operas are no more than 90 minutes. I've written 33 scripts, all within 90 minutes. And also when I write, it can be performed. I performed. I did Cinderella. You can do 90 minutes, you can do 60 minutes, you can 15 minutes. So all my writing can be cut into even just 15 minutes. So my Ramayana also can be performed in 60 minutes or 45 minutes, and still keep the main plots. So I think shorten the time is very important. Nobody wanted to sit there for 3 hours, And in fact, my Korean friend, a Korean actor, actually, very accomplished one, he said that he go to any show, after 90 minutes, he leaves. He don't want to spend more. No matter how good you are, he will just leave after, because he said it's not good for the body, so he just leaves, Yes, the point you raised to shorten it is very important. And secondly, reinterpretation of the classic, and also, putting a story into dance, or putting the story into the Chinese opera performing skills, which means that the form, as your students show, the form is still there, and people can see their classical dance training there, or their folk dance training there. But I know by putting into a new story, you will have to make certain adjustments, So tradition is not statics. What we call tradition now, actually, there are also adaptation on the way, learn tradition with a very open mind. And I really enjoy video very much, but I didn't have time to take a photo of your link. Huh? I want the second and third pieces to see again and show it to my students. You know, I only managed to capture a picture of the first video. Okay, would you do that?
I think SPAFA will send you the link.
Oh,
and if not, I can send you the clip.
Sure. Thank you.
I can
so
send
much.
you the YouTube link, Dr. Chua.
Papa is doing very good work again.
Thank you. So as Dr. Chua already mentioned about the reinterpretation of the classical one or the traditional one, and it's linked to the what the student of Dr. Kusuma has been done. So, and it's also what I am myself experienced as a choreographer, and I turn into contemporary one, and I still keep the tradition, inject the Cambodian classical dance into what I perform. So, but you know, as the audience, they would say in different way. They would ask a question whether this is meant to promote or destroy the old tradition. So, what do you think for this?
Ajahn Kusuma.
I just respond briefly. I think very important one. Open-minded. You really have to open the door, a window of your mind widely. And because of that, you never see tradition is wrong. You never done wrong to tradition because you can still see from other perspectives. And as Dr. Chua said, tradition never be static, because the tradition that we have to practice now was adjust along the way. It's the same as breathing. It's the same that our everyday life or living, or even language. Language is changing every day. And nowadays we see the rapid change from the, you know, all sort of technology. Then you have to find the way to revitalize, to make it tradition more exciting. And you shouldn't be afraid. You have to overcome the fear of picking the element of traditional form to make it new style, to make it uniquely you.
Yeah, for us, you see that I always advocating this. SPAFA has organized a documentations workshop, in 1994 in Jakarta. And at the workshop, at the opening ceremony, I also said that, that it's important when the great traditional theater artists are still healthy, quickly document their arts, like the Royal College of Fine Arts in Thailand, like Ajahn Nithiya, I don't know whether Kusuma knows her, and many other great teachers and artists, when they are healthy, please document, their arts, so that we know that, wow, in the 2009 or 2022, we have the video, we can compare them with the video of the 1999. Japan is so wonderful about this. I saw their Kanjinjo. Kanjinjo is one of the 18 great classic of Kabuki. You can see the pre-war Kanjinjo. All right. Professor Nagata came to the Singapore Museum and showed us that video. And then he showed the Kanjinjo in 2014 at that time. Yeah, it's the same. So they have documents that documentary material to show the classic as it was. All right. So we can, if we want to look at what they did before, we can look at them. If you don't do research and don't do documentation, as the SPAFA documentation workshop advocated, I don't know whether after we advocated, how many actually have started doing that. If we do that, I think they have a lot of material since 1994, So in Singapore, we started this project a few months ago, is to get the 70 years old plus to come and show us what they are doing in their Chinese opera. So at least in 2022, we can have a group of the 70 years old doing what they consider as a tradition. So I think we have to do it two ways. One is to document these people, these great artists. The other is to allow, artists, to try to do new things. Like, our student PJ, from Chulalongkorn, he's very controversial. Many of my students dislike him or even hate him, But but I think there are also people who find that his experiment is fine, to do it in a different way, One of the accusations is that why he must take out his clothes, When he was performing in Los Angeles, there were American audience asking why he must take out his clothes. He can do this new thing with his clothes on. It's very interesting reaction, But I think that's all right. To me, he was my last batch of Chua students in the dance department, and yes, I think the old and new coexist is the continuity of the tradition.
Okay, thank you very much. And we have one question from Dr. Chua. And is there any literature exchange between Teochew Opera and Bangsawen in Singapore? For example, Butterfly Lover play in the Bangsawen versions.
Oh, very good. Actually, I have written a paper about the Butterfly Lovers history in Singapore. And you see, Butterfly Lovers was created, was a movie, I don't know whether the movie was shown in Thailand in 1956, but that was before Ajahn Kusuma was born. 1958, I was a small boy and I went to the cinema. I watched the movie 9 times. And I saw this Indian man watching as well. And later I found out that 2 years later, he created Indian dance, drama, based on the butterfly stories, butterfly lover story. It's a cross-cultural experiment. And later I went to become his students. Butterfly lovers, the cross-cultural experiments has inspired many more, cross-cultural experiments. Like I did Ramayana as a Chinese opera. We performed at the Thailand Cultural Center in 1995, and also in Chiang Mai, the Gut Theater, when Ajahn Ochonma invited us to go to Chiang Mai. Yes, I think there are different type of cross-cultural, experiments, cross-cultural theater. You can take other cultural story, perform in your own style. Yeah, you can take other story, perform in that style of the story. Like you do the Chinese student doing Butterfly Lovers as an Indian dance, or as we did the Now as a Chinese opera, I thought that SPAFA's Now conference a few years ago was very excellent program. It had academic discussion, it had performances, it has workshop. It is through this workshop that we learn about what are the possibilities of other culture when they tell the same story. So yes, that is my thinking about these butterfly stories. A butterfly story is not just done in Indian dance, no, in ballet, in Chinese dance, in different kind of Chinese opera, Teochew opera, Cantonese opera, Beijing opera, and so on. And I directed the Beijing opera version in China, and they perform in Vietnam. hope that they can come to Chiang Mai one day.
Yes, please,
Yeah.
please come.
And I think your students, the three pieces you show us, I will show it to my Institute of Education students. These students are going to become primary school teachers, you know,
Wow.
so that they can learn from your example and use these ideas for their primary school children in the future.
You see, I just want to add some observation. I think we are now living in the borderless world.
Yes.
My students' experimentation based on the thing that they are available in their life, they
Yes.
see every day in Chiang Mai or in elsewhere, but yet we haven't really understand other arts beyond Thai border, like in Singapore, in Japan or India, or we learn some tradition about that, but we haven't really experiment with some element that we can adapt into the new creation. And I think it should be some way forward that the new generation might be able to come up with very exciting idea.
Yes.
Because in Asia, Dr. Chua, we have very rich of performing arts culture.
Yes.
There's so many Chong and sub-Chong, and we are not talking even about ethnic groups.
Right.
Like, for example, in Chiang Mai, I visit remote areas, and I always have a big eyes, when I saw like Lahu dance or during that ceremony or rituals. They're very beautiful and sometimes very relevant to the everyday understanding. Even we don't know any language about ethnic groups, we can understand through our spirits.
Yes.
All right.
Decades now, I've been working in Vietnam, working with the National Theatre and the National Dance Academy very closely. And of course, they have a great variety of ethnic dances. And even in the their puppet festival, puppet theater festival, it's very amazing to see how they use their folk dance element in their puppet. So you are right. We seldom have the chance to collaborate together. I think it is high time for us to facilitate this opportunity for our students, right? To learn from each other. In 2015, when the ASEAN Puppetry Association celebrated its 10th anniversary, I suggested we bring 5 artists from ASEAN countries to come to Jakarta together to do the Ramayana. So the Ramayana was performed by dancer, puppeteers, dramatists, actors. They are different disciplines. So they make as you advise, a 90-minute Ramayana, not longer than that. And it was wonderful. And we, in 2013, when we did the 9-country Ramayana together, all in different styles, the host institute actually held it at Mojokerto, in front of a volcano. So the slope of the mountain can seat 6,000 people. And they were there, they were there to see how these 9 countries perform together. It was for everybody, audience and participating artists, an unforgettable experience. They're so inspiring, and it makes you wanted to preserve the cultural diversity of the region.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
That's wonderful. And we are now approaching to the time.
In a checkbox or not? I saw number 1 there.
Okay, it already asked.
Oh, okay, that was the question.
So, do you have any last comments for the traditional theater in Southeast Asia from your own experience?
My last, okay, Kusuma.
Sorry,
No, you say
sorry. I agree that I just want to propose for SPAFA or maybe some institution in Singapore or some agency in Thailand that we must get some budget or funding to get some collaboration work. And I think putting together master of the art, senior masters and young students to come together to exchange person to person, I think is the best way to preserve tradition.
Yeah, it's what I say in my presentation, the mentoring program, we are doing this, for example, tomorrow night and the night after tomorrow, we have an Indian dance choreographer, a very senior one. So he has been doing this mentoring to young people, and the result is very visible. Actually, Ajahn Kusuma, what I wanted to say is exactly what he wanted to say. And the SPAFA festivals and Chulalongkorn's the share heritage, also the Inau one was great because I think Kanal might be able to read it from the documentation. There were senior artists coming to do the workshop, and the Mak Yong one. You have also done the Mak Yong.
Yes, yes.
We
did.
like Ajahn Ami Bangsa from the Philippines. She was 73, 74, and she danced so beautifully at the Mak Yong workshop, And the Mak Yong workshop is very great because many great artists from Southeast Asia were there, and to learn a few movements of Mak Yong, then to talk about Mak Yong, to learn about Mak Yong history. And then you have the performances of Mak Yong of different countries,
Wow.
Yeah, I think SPAFA should do it. If we don't have the big budget, then do a smaller scale. Then the host country can have more participants, but other country may just bring a few. But such interaction of the mentor and of the senior artists and the young people are very important. And please document them.
Thank you very much for your comments and your input. So we will consider on this and hope to make it happen.
Yes.
And all right, now that's a wrap of today, and I would like to hand over this floor to MC Johns, please.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kanal, and thank you so much to Dr. Chua and Ajahn Kusuma for taking time out of your busy schedules to share your experiences in traditional theater in Singapore and Thailand. Dr. Chua and Ajahn Kusuma were actually senior specialists in the performing arts here at SPAFA once upon a time. So it was nice seeing them again and having a bit of a mini reunion today with this SESH. And we also really appreciate all our viewers who joined us live on Facebook and Zoom. And we have chosen the winners of our SPAFA prize giveaway for their participation in this SESH. And we will be in contact with them shortly. And we have also shared a SESH evaluation link in Zoom and Facebook. Please fill it out. It will just take a few minutes and it will help us improve our future SPAFA sessions. And for those who came late and you'd like to revisit parts of this SESH, a recording of it is immediately available on Facebook at the end, or you can watch it on SPAFA's YouTube channel within a couple of days, and you can also find all our previous SPAFA sessions on there. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our SESH today. Thank you once again, Dr. Chua and Dr. Kusuma. See you again next time for our next SESH. Take care and goodbye.
All right.